Hello, this is C. Marshall, and these are my thoughts on the Chalice Dungeons in Bloodborne. Now, I've already released a review of this game, but I felt like these were such an interesting part now that I've spent a bit more time with them that I thought that they warranted their own little video, but not an actual review. I just wanted to talk about them a bit. The Chalice Dungeons are a series of pre-made and procedurally generated dungeon crawls with a completely isolated progression system from the main game of Bloodborne. These aren't just tacked on foolishness, which I feared they would be once they were announced at first. From Software has clearly put a ton of love into this, even if its various attempts aren't as resoundingly successful as Bloodborne's main game. The lifespan of Souls games usually lies wholly in how much you enjoy its combat, but more so if you're willing to make goals for yourself. You can work your way up in various covenants, try to work through the new game pluses, and so on, but you're generally always just making an objective for yourself, because you're never really given any direction. The Chalice Dungeons seem to be introduced to soften this endgame grind, just to give you something to distract yourself from the massive main game. Initially, they're pretty uninteresting. I messed with them a bit as I worked through my first playthrough, but only really sank into them before fighting the last boss and into the new game pluses. The grinding through the first few dungeons is pretty fucking rough, though understandable. The rewards are small, the enemies are easy, and the level design really can't carry it all alone. And from what I've seen, it goes from depth 1 to depth 5. There might be some secrets that I haven't uncovered yet. Depth 1 being a walk in the park, and Depth 5 being brunch with your girlfriend's parents after a long night of drinking. And I didn't get interested until about Depth 3 when I started dying. A lot. So far, after about 20 hours into the Chalice Dungeons, I'm on Depth 5 and I'm legitimately stuck on a boss, and I'm loving it. The reframing of old bosses in a new context and constantly discovering new enemy designs and items is really a great time. The struggle is actually lessened because traps and surprises don't punish quite like they do in the main game, because the travel time is lessened so much, and these are their own little self-contained things. I died a lot more here, though, than I did in the main game, and that's fine because of this lessened travel time. But they aren't to be taken for granted. I've already lost about 2 million blood echoes just messing around, getting lazy, and because I'm a hoarder. The dungeon designs all share the same framework, with generally 3 levels, even though I've seen some exceptions, each one containing a path running to the boss door, with a main dungeon halting your progress in the middle. These main dungeons have a switch in them that open that boss door. There are 2 optional arms to explore, pre- and post-dungeon areas with varying rewards. Everything loops back over each other, each level having its own interesting shortcuts and secrets. It's a great little feature that makes them all more playable. The choice to have dungeons work this way makes deviations from the set formula really exciting, but also makes running through them a bit of a slog if you're not in the right frame of mind. The only variety comes in enemy design, difficulty, and small visual flourishes. Occasionally you will run into an amazing set piece like huge bridges cutting through an endlessly deep valley or gorgeous secret areas, but it's mostly the same. A problem for me was the constant darkness. It can get tiring. This may be a me thing, though, like I could never beat Far Cry Blood Dragon. I mean, I got it, I just couldn't stand the never-ending darkness. The level design may suffer from this, but as I said earlier, the enemy variety does not. I after like 20 hours, keep seeing new enemy designs specific to the Chalice Dungeons. Some of them are twists on enemies encountered in the main game, but there are countless new ones to see. There are even Chalice Dungeon specific bosses. One of my favorite boss designs is actually in the Chalice Dungeon, even if he's a bit easy, that watchdog fire thing, it's crazy. But these also contain my least favorite enemy in the entire game, a gelatinous mound of human pieces that can fall from the ceiling and wrap around your body. These encounters almost always end up being fatal. These are a clear callback to those slime bastards from the first Dark Souls. The rewards you get from trudging through these dungeons and fighting these enemies are mostly Chalice Dungeon related, allowing you to venture deeper, but also get more blood vials and bullets and so on. There are unique weapons and items though, as well as extremely rare upgrade materials. The journey is worth the beast claws alone, these hilariously badass weapons that transform your arms into massive claws. The Chalice Dungeons in the end narrowly escape the feeling of just being a side thing, a place to grind for items and leveling currency to better survive the main game. It is fleshed out and endlessly entertaining, with complex inner workings packed with secrets left uncovered. The community that's already sprouted around this is a plus, with people sharing map seeds and offering help to overcome surprising challenges. It distills what makes the Souls game so fun, venturing into the unknown and facing impossible odds with a tight risk-reward balance. But this distillation also accentuates the problems with these games, like the grinding, the frustration, and the sometimes strange difficulty spikes. When taking the Souls formula to its most basic sense, a lot is missing. Yes, it's exciting to travel into new areas, but not as exciting knowing that they're just going to lead to new random areas, containing items to make more random areas. It can feel cheap, and the procedural generation can work against it. But if you love the combat and the atmosphere of Bloodborne, it offers more than enough to keep you coming back. Just don't expect it to hold your hand. Thank you so much for watching.